URC round number 4, folks. Leinster and Munster is a big old game. 80+ thousand fans. I look at that with the utmost respect and a bit of envy from here in New Zealand. We don't get crowds like that. I mean, we don't have stadiums that big here in New Zealand, but regular season game, 80,000 fans at a game is nuts. And well done to everyone who got out there and attended this one. It's a big-ish kind of win for Leinster. It's a bonus point win. They scored the majority of their points within the first quarter, but never really let Munster back into a position where they could win this game. For Munster, they will be, on the flip side, very disappointed with the way they started the game. They'll be very disappointed with the way their line-out went. The scrum looked promising. Scored a couple of tries. Kept Leinster scoreless in the second half, but walk away points-wise from this game with nothing. And for Leinster, despite the fact that they didn't score any points in the second half, get maximum points for a fourth week in a row. We'll go through some of the key events and stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts. But yeah, I'll roll out of bed prior to the kind of 6 o'clock hitting the clock here in New Zealand. How does that work? Well, basically I got up at 5 something because that's when the game kicked off. Not many games would get me up out of bed that early if they're not test matches, but this one felt like a pretty big occasion and it felt worth getting out of bed for. And I'm pretty pleased I did. There were some big hits early. Archie Snyman one-handed line-out take. Pretty pleasing to see that kind of skill set on display. Although in blue rather than red this year, he got a bit of a serve when he left the field from a few fans giving him a bit of a boo. I don't mind that kind of thing. We boo a lot more than you Irish fans do down here in New Zealand, so it felt not out of place for Archie to get a few boos, seeing as he's switched allegiances. But yeah, like I said, big crowd, big tackles, some skills, and then bam, 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 line out, bam, 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 tries from Leinster. Lowe, Doris and Keenan, the early try scorers, and Leinster kind of getting a bit of pay for not opting for 3. And some big carries in the build-up to the Lowe try. Furlong with a big carry. Osborne with a pop to Frawley goes close. And then Gibson Park wide ball to Lowe. Try number 1, Doris barging over from close range on the back of a couple of Munster lineouts which had gone awry, putting them under territorial pressure. The TMO has tried to make sure he'd gotten it down, but he's all good. 2 tries, that's 14-0, and Keenan Leinster go for the maul, pop it out to the backs. Osborne and Crowley drops rush out of the line. Osborne pops it to Onrush and Keenan. 15 minutes in, and we're basically 21-0 to the good from a Leinster point of view. So it's a long way back from Munster very early on. They did settle the game down, to their credit. Like, they were looking like they could get absolutely pumped here, but they did manage to settle the game down and put Leinster under a fair bit of pressure. Like, they had their own chances. One where they mucked up a line out in a prime bit of attacking real estate. One where Nankivell had a forward pass. Maybe that one's given in Super Rugby because she was pretty flat. And one where Gibson Park's able to kind of almost intercept it, but he gets 2 hands on it, so he's not like yellow carded or penalised or anything. But yeah, a few chances they just couldn't quite break that Leinster defensive line. They did get it on 35 minutes through O'Brien. That one was a nice, when the line-out finally operated properly, nice attacking line-out. They get it to Klein, I think, in the air, to Byrne, who pops it to O'Brien, who's able to go over. So it's a pretty sweet line-out move, but the pretty sweet line-out moves were in the minority. Largely the line-out struggled for Munster. But they got that one, misconversion, but at least they're on the board. But then Leinster doing what Leinster do, having been under the pump for a decent period of that first half, get one, and it's that man Snyman in the game against his old team. He's able to power over him, and him against Craig Casey and one of the other Munster tacklers was always going to be a bit of a mismatch. But yeah, it doesn't take that much build-up for Leinster to just be able to go straight down the other end and score a try. So a bonus point before half-time for Leinster. Very, very encouraging for them. But as I said, that's the end of the scoring. So if you wanted to be critical, you could criticise Leinster for not going on and extending that lead. But with their kicking game, they seem pretty happy just to keep Munster basically chasing this game. I mean, the second half, it takes a long time to get kind of any kind of scoring. The first half, I should get to the stats. Like, Munster's edged the possession. They've had more territory, 61%. They've had more run meters, but Leinster's had more clean breaks. They've had more kicks, like 16-9. And the line-out, 7 from 10 from Munster. It's about 70%. That's not very good, whereas Leinster's 7 from 8. Both sides have conceded 8 penalties, which is a little bit high. Second half, Munster line-out continues to struggle. Snyman gets a few boos when he goes off, as I mentioned, but I don't have a problem with that. But at least the Munster scrum was at least able to boss things around a little bit. Like Porter got pinged quite a few times at scrum, and this one certainly a lot better than their line out. Munster had a whole heap of territorial pressure. But the Leinster defence, man, at times, like there was one point where Osborne just lined up Nankerville and just smashed him, which leads to a Leinster penalty. They're able to just get bodies over the board, the breakdown. So the defensive pressure from Leinster, they didn't score any points, was still something to behold. First score of the second half comes from a bit of a kind of a weird X-Factor play. Like it took something special to break down the Leinster defence, basically. That was Conor Murray with the line break, which is not something you expect from him these days. And then Gavin Coombs with the dink through. Apparently he's played a bit of Gaelic football, is what the commentary team said. But yeah, then Haley is the first man to it. He's able to get the try. So it took something a bit of kind of out of the box thinking, I guess. But 26-12, that is the final scoring. I mean, more Leinster defensive work led to more penalties. I mean, Ross Byrne had a shot at goal, he missed it. Kieran Frawley had a shot at goal, he hit the post. But yeah, Leinster just didn't look largely like they were going to be cut to bits. Their defence was largely pretty solid. I mean, they missed a few tackles, but their defensive system never really looked like being broken down too much. The possession finish is 50-50. The territory in the second half was 70-30 to Leinster. That's what I mean about how they were able to just kind of keep the game where they wanted it. Run meters, Munster actually edged that 406 to 314. But again, if you're down your own half, those run meters are less kind of dangerous. The clean breaks is 5-6 with Munster having one more. Turnovers 1 is 6-5 for Leinster, with Caelan Doris having 4 of those. Like, he was immense. Like, as much as we kind of sing the praises of Tyke Byrne for being that kind of jackal threat, it was all Doris this week. Kicks from hand 28-20 with Leinster putting more boot to ball. Happy to just control the game. Penalties conceded is 11-12, so pretty even, but 10 of those Munster penalties in their own half. Individuals, Haley, 96 metres, 5 defenders beaten. Couple of clean breaks, solid enough shift from him. Lowe, also 2 clean breaks, 50-odd metres. Doris, like I mentioned, man of the match, 21 tackles, the only player to get into the 20s for tackles this week, plus those 4 turnovers. Hodnett had 17 for Munster. Byrne had a couple of turnovers, 1. But yeah, the line out, 69% for Munster. Not great. It's 11 from 16. Whereas Leinster just missed that 1. They were at 91%, which is pretty good. Although the scrum has been a little bit of an issue thus far. But yeah, Munster away to the Stormers next. Leinster away to Connacht. But yeah, not a bad way to start the day. Bit of Leinster and Munster action, as I said. Really, really chuffed about how many fans got out there to attend this one. It seemed like a proper atmosphere. And yeah, it's the kind of thing that I can only look on with a bit of envy from here in NZ. But you guys, let us know your thoughts on the game. There's a few more URC games on this morning, which I may end up catching. But yeah, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.